Yeah, the Spitball Kid, which was an episode of Then Came Bronson, which, just, I don't know, I think I was 18 at the time. It was just by far the coolest thing on television, and he was by far the coolest guy. And by that I mean he was compelling to watch. And there was some kind of, I guess, honesty that he possessed in that character that came through. So the opportunity to do that was pretty great. What was bizarre about that for me was that in all of my career, having played professional baseball, that was the only time I ever played baseball in a movie or did anything with a movie. And Don Drysdale was the tech advisor on it. I was playing a pitcher in it. Mike was the catcher. And I think the thing was he was picking up on me telegraphing a pitch. And because I was playing ball at that time seriously and looking to play pro ball, Drysdale began to hear me, and then he thought I had a really live arm, and so he kind of arranged this tryout for me with the Dodgers. But when I got there that day, I ran out second base, took some ground balls and stuff, and he said, "Okay, get on the mound." And I said, "I'm not a pitcher. I'm a second baseman." And I was being scouted at the time, and some of the guys that were there were saying, "Yeah, we know who this is. He's a second baseman." And I don't think Mike was there that day, but I told him about that. And he, in his inimitable fashion, he said, "Whoop," he said that. He said, "Come on, man, they always get it wrong." Right? And that was just sort of emblematic of what I saw in him. He was truly the first experience I had watching someone who was, as the actor at the helm of the show, battling for what he knew was right. And what was interesting about it was I couldn't believe the way he did it. It was so brazen. And he was losing the battle. But it didn't matter to him. And I thought, wow, that's really dangerous and interesting to watch. But the thing I remember most about it was just in listening to him talk about those differences, he was never wrong. And I thought that must be really frustrating. And but it was my first experience with seeing somebody, do battle with the brass, as it were, and try to do the best he could, and it was always for the betterment of the show. It had very little to do with him or his character. Yeah, that's not, of course it's wrong. No, I didn't learn to ride a motorcycle on the set. I rode motorcycles long before that. But what was fun about it was, there's Mike, there's me. What was fun about it was everybody on the show was really excited about getting a new motorcycle. And I did ride on the bike of a guy who got his motorcycle that day at midnight through Mesa, Arizona. And he ran every red light at about 105 miles an hour. And I knew I was gonna die. And I was on the back of the bike and there was nothing I could do. And he was either very drunk or very stoned, and it was a bad situation, which ended up with him going into the doors of a restaurant, throwing his leg up, and wiping out the counter as we went through the restaurant and out the door. And it was at that point that I was able to kind of get off the bike really quickly. And he stopped and he looked at me and I said, "Go ahead, we're good." And I walked miles to get back to where home was. But it was a pretty wild time, and that was a wild night.
Damn. So to go forward,
can I get something to mop down here? Because I'm just going to get shinier and shinier as we go on.
Stuff that's like a.
Well, no, just you know what? I can almost do it with
you
this.
You can do it with mine.
You know, yeah, just a little bit of a mop down here.